Hey everybody, welcome to or back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Kourtney and I make videos about college lifestyle and travel. So for those of you who don't know, I just got done studying abroad this semester at Sea Spring 2022, and today I'm going to be doing a Q&A of my time during semester at Sea. So the other day I asked y'all for questions that you had about semester at Sea over on my Instagram story. So if you're not following me on Instagram already, make sure to go do that so that you can be in the loop for future Q&As, whether that's about semester at Sea, college in general, travel in general, anything. I'm going to always be asking all my questions over on my Instagram story with the question sticker, just because that's the easiest way to keep them all in one place. Before I dive into the questions that you guys had asked on my Instagram story, I do want to give a little bit of background on my semester at Sea experience and kind of the things that led up to my voyage, because it was a pretty unique one. So basically back in 2019, when I was a sophomore in college, I signed up to live on this ship for a couple months and go to school and study abroad, and I got accepted into the program. I was so excited. So I was originally supposed to go during fall of 2020. And as you guys know, 2020 was a little bit of a special year. When the pandemic broke out that spring, my original voyage got canceled. We weren't able to go. So I was pretty upset, but I ended up transferring to just the next voyage. So then I was supposed to go spring 2021. That one also got canceled. So then I was supposed to go fall 2021, and then that one last minute also got canceled. So then I finally transferred to the spring 2022 voyage, which is the voyage that I ended up going on, and it was voyage 129 of Semester at Sea. I'll leave a link down to Semester at Sea's website if you guys want to know more about the program, but basically it's where you live on a ship for 4 months and you take your classes on the ship, and then you get to travel to all these amazing different countries, and you do import activities for some of your assignments, all of that schnaz. I've made so many videos about it, so make sure you go check those out. And again, I'll link their website down below if you want to just learn more about the program in general. But enough of that chit chat, let's get into the questions that you guys asked me. So I got a lot of questions, which I was expecting, about how much semester at Sea costs. Was it worth it? Did I have to take out student loans? If so, was it worth going into debt for? The short answer is that it has a pretty high ticket price. I did have to take out a student loan, and I do think that it was worth it. So I'm going to break the cost down a little bit for you guys. A voyage with semester at Sea ranges from $28,000 to $32,000 for the semester. That is a lot of money, and I totally acknowledge that. But it does include your room and board, your travel, the fuel charge to go to all these countries, your college tuition for the semester, all the food you eat on the ship. It really does include a lot in there. Also, since it is still an academic program, you can apply for scholarships, you can apply for student loans, you can apply for federal student loans, you can apply for on-ship jobs. So one of the questions I got was, did I apply for scholarships? And the answer is yes, I did apply for scholarships, and I ended up getting ones both through Semester at Sea and also through Colorado State University. After that, I do have a federal loan that I take out every school year. I am very thankful that I was able to take out a student loan. I took out my student loan through Sallie Mae, which is a really good program for people who are in college and who are studying abroad specifically. I know a lot of people on my voyage got their loans through Sallie Mae, and honestly, they've been really great to work with. I had taken out the loan earlier when I was supposed to go on the voyage last year, and I ended up having to ask them if they could transfer that loan to the different semester for me. And just with all of these crazy things leading up to my voyage, they were super helpful, super understanding, and I would definitely recommend checking out Sallie Mae if you're in need for a student loan to pay for semester at Sea, or really any other study abroad program or program in your home country, because they specialize in just helping students. So then the last finance related question I got was, do I think it was worth going into debt for? And the short answer to that again is yes. It's kind of an oddly worded question, but the way I see it, people take out loans for a lot of stuff. People take out loans for college, people take out loans to study abroad, to travel in general, people take out loans to start a small business, people take out loans to buy a house, to buy a car. There's so many things that you can take out loans for, and if you're able to do that and you know that you have a job that's going to allow you to pay back those loans, which I'm fortunate enough to have, I feel a lot of times taking out that money is investing in yourself. And if you are going to do it, doing it as a student is actually way more beneficial, because student loans have a way lower interest rate than other loans that you could take out later in life. So again, I know that everybody's financial situation is different, and I am very, very thankful that I was able to apply for scholarships and receive them, and then also apply for those loans and know that I had a job to come back to later to pay those off. And since I was able to do that, after I had the experience, everything that I learned, everything that I went through, I definitely would do it all the same if I had to do it again. The next question that was also very frequently asked was, did COVID-19 impact your voyage, and how did COVID-19 impact your voyage? So like I said, it definitely did. I was supposed to go multiple times before, and it kept pushing it back, and then once we did have this voyage was finally going to happen, there were still things that were different about our voyage than voyages in the past because of the pandemic. And since we were the first voyage to go since the pandemic broke out, there were a lot of things that semester at sea didn't know how to navigate, and they were kind of testing out with us, and hopefully that will be better for future voyages. But honestly, I think that a lot of people didn't give the program enough grace, and I really do think that Semester at Sea tried the best with the situation they were given, because it is really hard to navigate a multiple country study abroad program during the rear end of a global pandemic. So some things that were different about our voyage compared to other voyages because of COVID. The biggest thing was that our itinerary was on a much smaller scope. So usually the voyage either starts in Asia, goes down around South Africa, sometimes over to South America, then up through North Africa, and then up to Europe, or vice versa, where it'll do the same thing but kind of backwards. So people are going to countries on all these different continents and stuff, and our voyage we ended up only being in Europe. So we started in Italy, went through the Mediterranean, and then went up into the North Atlantic, ending in Germany. The reason why we did this is because a lot of other countries were still pretty strict on their travel restrictions. Even though they were letting people fly into the country, ships have much tighter restrictions when it comes to traveling, and especially traveling in a pandemic. So they made the scope smaller so that it was a little bit easier to navigate. A lot of the countries we went to were in the European Union too, which were all abiding by the same rules, which made traveling from country to country just actually possible, whereas it might not have been if we kept that wider scope. So I was bummed that I didn't get to see some cool places in Asia and Africa. I've never been to either of those continents, but the ports that we did see were still really cool, and I had a great time, and really there's not much to complain about. Another thing is that we did have itinerary changes during our voyage. The two other things that COVID definitely had an impact on were frequent COVID tests and also mask mandates. So on the ship in the beginning of the voyage, we were required to wear a mask at all times, and then towards the end, the rules kind of changed some days, and then they changed back. I don't know. There was some times where they said you only had to have them if you were inside, and if you're out on the deck, you didn't. But then they got strict again because we had more cases. So we had mask mandates while on the ship, and then in some of the countries, depending on their government and what their current regulations were, there were mask mandates there as well. We also had to get COVID tests every time we got back on the ship after visiting a port, every time we were about to get off the ship to visit a port, and then if we were at sea for X amount of days, we had to get COVID tested in the middle of that stretch at sea as well. There were some people who got COVID. I did get COVID while I was in France, and honestly, that's just we knew that was going to happen, unfortunately. So what happened is people either quarantined on the ship or they quarantined in country and then flew to meet up with the ship in the next country. That's what I ended up doing, and if you want to know more about the quarantine experience during semester at sea, if you do happen to get COVID while the pandemic still runs through, go check out my quarantine in France vlog because I talk about it in way more depth there. Okay, so the next question, somebody said that they're from Mexico and they want to know if they can still do semester at sea and also apply for scholarships, and the answer is yes. I can't remember how many countries we had different people from, but there were a lot of quote-unquote international students on the ship. Technically we were all international students because we're going to all these different countries, but Semester at Sea's academic partner is Colorado State, which is in the US, so it's accredited through a US university, so anybody not from the US was considered an international student. But there were a lot of them. We had people from all over, and I know a significant amount of them did also get scholarships. Okay, somebody asked, what was dating like on the ship, and did you have a Seabaes? No, I did not have a Seabaes because I have a land bay, which means during the voyage I had my boyfriend back home. And I did get some questions asking how I navigated that and if it was difficult and everything. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit. Me and a couple other girls all had boyfriends back home during the voyage, and it was hard to be away from them. My boyfriend and I have been dating for a little over 2 years, and we do live together now, so it was sad to like not be with him for 4 months, but I wanted to give some pointers on like things that helped making that 4 months of long distance work. So the ship has very, very limited Wi-Fi and data because you're in the middle of the ocean. But at the beginning of the voyage, you can buy an extended Wi-Fi plan, which will give you a little bit more. It's still not a lot. It's still not great. Very little like FaceTime ability like that. You're probably just not going to have that while at sea. But if you buy this Wi-Fi package, for me, it was enough to send WhatsApp messages to Will every day and also call him at least once a day over WhatsApp. So if you're doing the voyage, I would definitely recommend getting that extended Wi-Fi plan, and also get it before you get on the ship, because if you buy it for yourself ahead of time, it's half the price as if you buy it the day you board the ship, which is what I did, and I would have saved a lot of money if I did it sooner. If you don't want to deal with that, you can also buy call cards on the ship and call them through your room's phone. I also would definitely recommend downloading WhatsApp, whether you want to communicate with a significant other back home, family back home, friends back home, whatever, because sometimes iMessage would be kind of funky about notifications. Like, I wouldn't get the messages on the ship Wi-Fi from iMessages, and then I'd get in country and they'd all come pouring through. But I felt like WhatsApp for me was a little bit more reliable. And then also another thing about just like long distance relationships specifically during semester at sea is that when you're in country, if you're staying at a hostel or a hotel or an Airbnb, it is great to get ones that do have Wi-Fi included, because that way you can like actually FaceTime your significant other or whoever you're trying to contact back home off of that Wi-Fi for a way longer period of time than what you can do on the ship. But yeah, just definitely try to find ways to communicate. There are communication difficulties with semester at sea just because of the Wi-Fi situation and international phone plans and all of that. It just always causes problems, but try to communicate as much as you can and just show your significant other or whoever you care about back home that you care about them in little ways, whether that's text messages, phone calls, or postcards. Alright, another question is, how hard are the classes? So like I mentioned earlier, Semester at Sea's academic partner is Colorado State University, but they get their professors from like anywhere. Basically, professors apply like they would apply to work at a university, and it is a pretty strict program for the professors to get into it. I was talking to one of my professors, and he said it was like probably one of the hardest job interviews he's ever had. The classes themselves, it really depends on what you take. So everybody has to take global studies, and I'd say that the coursework for that class was not too hard because it's like catered towards like a sophomore standing, I would say. But the quizzes in that class were way harder than I thought they were going to be, and not a lot of people did that great on them. For other classes, it really just depends on what you take. So like if you're taking all 200 level classes, they're going to be easier, and if you're taking 400 level classes, they're going to be a bit more difficult. Overall, I felt like all the classes I took had a lot of work that had to go into them, probably more work than I thought I was going to have to put into the class. But my grades, I wasn't super worried about my grades the whole time. Like, as long as you put in the time for each class, you'll do well. And your professors also are going to teach you so much more outside of the classroom than they are inside of the classroom, and they know that. So as long as you're putting effort into your classes, putting time into your classes, I don't think it's that hard to get a good grade. You just really do have to put in time to the classes. Like, it is school. You do have to do work. Alright, another person asked, do you plan to go again in the future? So I saw my friend Daisy also got asked this question, and it's kind of interesting because I don't know of like really anybody who has done it twice as a student, but there were a lot of people working on our voyage who had done multiple semesters. So if I were to ever do the voyage again, I would either be going as a faculty member, which is staff and faculty, or as a lifelong learner, which is usually like the retired people, but sometimes they're just like on sabbatical, I don't know. People who are not students anymore coming back to do it and just like audit the classes. I'm not sure if I would ever work as a faculty member for a semester at sea. Like, I really don't know if I would do that or not right now. I would not do it anytime soon. But as far as being a lifelong learner, Will and I really want to do the program again as lifelong learners in the future, and we want to do it together. Since he wasn't able to come as a student, it'd be really cool if we both came as lifelong learners together. So the answer is like yes, but not for a long time, and not again as a student. Okay, this next question is a really good question, and it is, what country time does the ship run on when at sea? So the time on the ship is just called ship time, okay? And it will change during your voyage depending on like where in the world you are. So if you're crossing like a time zone while at sea, your clocks are gonna change that night, but they'll always announce it. And you have TVs in your room and then clocks around the ship that will always have the correct ship time. Like the ship takes care of it and they set those clocks to the correct time. And then it's just your responsibility to like adjust your watch or your phone to match the time of the TVs and everything else on the ship, because that is ship time. And again, it's not that bad. They'll always announce when it happens. We didn't have that many time zone changes on our voyage just because our scope was so small and we were like going in and out of kind of the same areas, but I know on other voyages they did lose like a lot more hours or gain a lot more hours. Alright, this next question is also a really good one. It is, what was your favorite ship dessert? So the ship always makes very nice little desserts for lunch, dinner, and snack time. It's hard to resist them sometimes, but I tried to eat them like only if it was one that I really wanted. And my favorite one was the banana bread cake. It was so good. It was just banana bread with chocolate chips and this little like whipped frosting on it. So good, 10 out of 10, and it didn't have cinnamon, which is great because your girl has a cinnamon allergy, so sometimes like the ones that looked really good I couldn't have, but that one I could have. It was great, and I know a lot of other people that was their favorite too. Okay, the next question is also food related, and it is, what was your go-to snack bar order? So on the ship there are 2 different snack bars. There's one in the library and there's one on the pool deck. So it really depends. During the day sometimes I would get their coffees because the coffee in the dining room was not that good, but the coffee at the snack bars was like better. So during the day, I'd get coffees, or I'd get a peach iced tea or a smoothie. The pool bar has smoothies and they're so good. My favorites were strawberry banana and strawberry orange. And then also at night, if my friends and I were gonna like watch a movie or we were going to like one of the programs or something, we'd always get popcorn too because they have a popcorn machine upstairs and downstairs. So good. Ship popcorn cannot be beat. While we're on the subject of dining and such, I had a lot of people ask me if I'm team Berlin or Lido. So for those of you who don't know, there are 2 dining rooms on the MV World Odyssey, and one of them is at Berlin, it's on the 6th floor, the other one is Lido, and it's on the 9th floor, and I am team Lido all the way. I don't understand how people like Berlin better. It's bigger, so like there's more people in it, but I'm an introvert, so I liked Lido better. Lido's also way prettier, like way prettier, and Lido has outdoor dining and Berlin doesn't. So like, why would you not want to eat outside and see the ocean when you're eating? I just don't understand. Lido's always better. Okay, and then the last question is actually from one of my subscribers here on YouTube instead of Instagram. So Maria, if you're watching this, hey girl. And Maria asked, what is your best tips or advice for future voyagers, because she's going in 2023. So like, I could probably write an entire book about this, but I'm just gonna go with like the big ones for now. One is make sure to like record your voyage in some way. So I did like all of the above, but you could either take lots of pictures, journal, vlog, like whatever is your style. Just make sure that you're capturing it, because when you get home, you're going to want to show people, you're going to look back at it, and it's just like one of those things that's really nice to have. Another thing is say yes to as many things as possible. Like 4 months might seem like a long time, but it's going to go by so fast, and like you can sleep when you get home. Like just do as much as you possibly can. Take like any opportunity that they give you, take it, because if you don't, you're gonna go home and wish that you did. And then the other one is just like about meeting friends, I think. So when you get on the ship, it's total first day of school vibes, which like for me as a senior was so weird because like I haven't had that in so long. But just remember that like everybody else who's on that program has similar values and interests as you. Like everybody there loves to travel, everybody there is pretty dang adventurous if they sign up to live on a ship for 4 months. And everybody there is just as nervous and excited to meet people as you are. So if you're like nervous about like going up to somebody and saying hi and introduce yourself, just do it. Like you're only there for 4 months, who knows, they might be the best friends of your life. Okay, it's like 7 o'clock and the lighting is getting so bad right now. But that is gonna be all for today's video. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this and watching it. And if you've been following my entire semester at sea journey, Thank you so much. It literally means the world to me. I'd been doing YouTube for a year before semester at sea, but like during the voyage I really got into it. And now that I'm home, I have a lot of exciting Arizona and college and other travel content that I'm planning. So if you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Also, if you want to be in the loop for future Q&As, go follow the Instagram, because that's where it happens. That's where the magic happens. That's where you ask your questions. Thank you again so much for watching this video. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. Bye.